On.
Good morning, everyone. Frank Messina, Chair of the Chatham Historical Commission. This is our September 7, 2021 meeting. I have some announcements to make before we start. Please note this meeting is being recorded and will be available shortly hereafter for scheduled on-demand viewing on any smartphone or tablet device. If anyone else is recording the meeting, please notify the chairman at this time. Hearing none, thank you. This meeting of the Chatham Historical Commission is being conducted via remote participation in accordance with Section 20 of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 and shall afford adequate alternate means of public access via Microsoft Teams by calling the phone number 1-508-945-4410. Conference ID 421-799-203 hashtag, or by joining the meeting online via Microsoft Teams through the link posted on the agenda. Despite our best efforts, we may not be able to provide for real-time access and will post a record of this meeting on the town's website as soon as possible. In accordance with town policy, the public can speak on any issue hearing or business item on the agenda during the meeting when recognized by the chair. The process we use is pretty much consistent, or effectively roll call of all board members are necessary for votes. Any citizen and board participating in the call-in, please provide the last 4 digits of your phone number for identification purposes. Dallas, I'm getting feedback. Dallas, all right. Dallas, you know what that is?
Yeah, Frank, I'm working on it. If everyone can just mute who's not speaking, that'd be great.
Did everyone hear that? Sandy, mute. Stephanie, mute. Steve, mute. There are 1 or 2 callers here on the phone. Can they please mute their phones or hang up? Thank you. Okay, here we go. Put that aside. We have a full agenda, 4 or 5 hearings, continuation of hearings, and a number of items under old business, new business, as well as the chairman's report. So we need to keep in mind the whole concept, and I'm probably the worst person to say this, but we're starting at 9:30. Next time we start at 10:30, which means I really would like the meetings not to last more than an hour and a half, if possible. As far as I'm concerned, once we reach 2 hours, we don't think straight. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the minutes from August 17, 2021. Everyone has been provided with a copy. Are there any comments or corrections? Look for a motion, Mr. Vice Chair.
I left about halfway through the meeting, Frank, so I'm glad to make the motion, but
I can make the motion.
Go ahead.
I make the motion that the minutes from the August 17th meeting be accepted.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Don. Okay, Mr. Lear,
abstaining.
Steve, Steve, Mr. Burlingame,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Janet,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, minutes are accepted as written. Thank you very much. Okay, so the first item on our agenda is a continuation of the application 21017, which is heard under Chapter 158 of the Demolition Delay Bylaw, as well as Provision 12C, 12E of the Cape Cod Commission, as this is a National Register District property and a contributing structure in the National Register District. We asked the applicant, and he concurred to adjourn and continue the meeting. We had asked the applicant if he could take a look at the proposed demolition of the garage, and there were concerns within the applicant, with the commission as it related to the size and massing of the particular structure which he had proposed to provide. We have some additional information provided by the applicant, effectively drawings of the revision. I don't know if it was revised, but we'll talk about that. And also some some photographs showing similar structures in the neighborhood. In addition, the chairman, as I usually do when there's an issue within a Cape Cod Commission property, I requested Sarah Korjeff of the Cape Cod Commission to opine, I love that word, on the plans. And she did respond to my email looking at the plans, and you have that. So we'll talk about that and consider that. I think I gave enough introduction. Mr. Riley, are you with us? I guess we're going to continue this to the
Frank,
next meeting.
this is Sandy. Frank, this is
Yes, ma'am.
Sandy. I have not, because I've missed the past
Yeah, I
couple of
know,
meetings,
Sandy. Right. You wouldn't be
so I
voting.
wouldn't participate in this
That's
one.
Mr. Riley, are you present? William Riley?
He was here just a minute ago. He called me. Let me give him a ring and see what's going on.
Yeah, Roger, you could step in for Bill.
Yeah,
Who's speaking, please?
it's Roger Hoyt, the architect. Can you
Roger,
hear me?
you're gonna be presenting?
Well, Bill was supposed to be making the presentation, but I'm perfectly happy to do it.
Okay, Roger.
All right, so I thought it was very helpful, the comments and the ideas that were discussed at our previous hearing back in August. And what we tried to do was to take a look at the design and make some modifications. What we did was to, first of all, lower the elevation of the floor of the new structure. We lowered the pitch of the dormer roof. We changed the window types from double hung to awning. We changed the spacing of the windows to match the main block of the David Howe's house. And we made the vertical elevation of the dormer smaller and moved it further back on the roof, so it was less of a presence
Dick,
on
excuse me,
on the roof
Mr.
itself.
Hoyt?
Yes.
Mr. Hoyt? I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
I'm gonna ask Christina, could you bring up, I assume you're talking about A6 of your drawings?
Yes, sir.
Could you
Yes.
do that, just so we can make everybody aware? I know you're describing it, but it, picture worth 1,000 words. So, Christina? And am I correct that A6 is the drawing you'd like us to look at?
Yes, sir.
And it shows the original, the August 16th, and what you've now proposed.
That is correct.
Ah, very good. Sorry, Mr. Hoyt.
No problem.
Okay, so why don't you just
So
give
I
us
think-
that again quickly?
Yeah, I think that the areas that we discussed were that we actually lowered the elevation of the floor of the addition, which trying again to bring the profile down. We lowered the pitch of the dormer roof from a 4 to a 3. We changed the window type from double hung to awning. You can notice in the original piece of the house, which is the left side, the original building has both awning and double hung windows. And with our first pass, we used the double hung as the window type. But I think in trying to look at the overall elevation, I like the awning look better than the double hung. It's less of a presence and, shows more roof and a less vertical face on the dormer. We also changed the spacing of the windows so that instead of having them, basically next to each other, we opened up the distance between the windows. Again, very much similar to the very left-hand side of the original house. And we made the elevation of the dormer smaller and moved it further back up the roof. And I think the proportion of the dormer and the roof itself are more in keeping with the existing house. So I think all of this has made a better look in our estimate. And I think what happens here is that the mission of the Historic Commission, I think, is to bring to bear your experiences with the town and the district, and I think, in my opinion, this has made this a better look.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Appreciate your attempt to incorporate some of the modifications as we discussed. I believe that's Mr. Riley trying to get me to recognize him.
Yeah, good morning, Bill Riley. I don't know why my phone defeated me in my first attempt to join in, but thank you, Roger, for doing a great job explaining the changes you made. I believe that this certainly is approvable. I think that Sarah Korjeff's opinion supports that as well. So
Yes.
I'd like to hear the comments from the commission members.
Yeah, thank you very much, Bill. I agree. And I did email you that Sarah Korjeff when I got it, so I assume you had it also. And
Yeah,
it just,
appreciate
we, some of these things in which, they're not a slam dunk one thing or the other. It's just good to get her opinion. And we do appreciate it. And I think the fact that for the members of the public, just so we know what happened, Sarah Korjeff is the preservation specialist for the Cape Cod Commission and basically acts as a consultant in some ways to the commission, which we usually ask her to comment on contributing structures in the National Register District, because if the commission were to deem that the changes were not consistent with the requirements of the National Register District, it would go before her. And quite candidly, just for information, the Cape Cod Commission wants us to do everything we can to avoid that and keep things locally. So we do have a conversation, and I think this was worthwhile. And effectively, not reading the whole email, she basically had no problem relative to the initial design, but certainly understand the commission's concern about the massing. In my opinion, I think you've kind of met the requirements from my point of view, but let's get the members of the commission, as you requested, Bill. Let's just go around the table if we can. If anybody have any thoughts they'd like to share, Mr. Lear?
Yes, Frank, I agree with Roger. I think he's done a good job, and I mean, not only in changing the size of the garage, if you will, but also in, I'll use the word mimicking the dormer on the left. It adds a lot of consistency to it.
Very good. Steve? Mr. Burlingame? While he's trying to get connected, Ben?
No objection.
Thank you very much.
I have unmuted myself now, and I certainly think that the proposed drawing of August 28th is a substantial improvement, and I would certainly support the application.
Thank you very much, Ben. Stephanie?
I was just a little concerned on A7 when I saw how many roof lines there were. The next page.
Well, I understand what you're saying, Steph, from my opinion, but you know, that is what the house was. We added one more, I agree, but in some ways it is a bit consistent with the manner which homes expanded in the 18th century. You had another kid, you added another L. So,
Otherwise, I think it's great.
Very good, Steph. Okay, Don?
Yeah, I think it's a big improvement and I appreciate the change.
Okay. Janet, I believe because you were involved in the first one, it's appropriate for you to discuss and vote on this.
I think it's great that they were responsive to our the commission's concerns and made the changes, and it's definitely consistent with the historic and the other homes on their street. And it's whatever they do, it's not visible from the road anyway, but it looks much better and more historically architectural, and it restores the architectural integrity, I think.
Thank you very much, Janet. And the chair agrees generally with all of the comments. Having said that, I think we certainly have consensus, but we need to formalize it in a vote. Michelle, you have to help me. Did we vote or reaffirm the historic? I think we did reaffirm the historical significance of the property.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was done on August 17th, the historical significance. You need the second part to chapter 158 and then your National Register.
All right. Mr. Lear, can you facilitate that?
Yeah, let's do 158 first because I have that on top. Hold on, the latest plans are. Roger, what's the last date? I can't see it. The print's so small.
Should be August
August
30th.
It is
August 30th. Okay.
August 30th.
Under Chapter 158, the Chatham Historical Commission also finds that the proposed work to be done dated August 30th, 2021 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building structure, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
I will second.
Thank you, Steph. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Steve, Mr. Burlingame,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Don,
Yes,
and Janet,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Okay, we have one more to go.
Yes, under Cape Cod Commission, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission find that the materials presented this date showing that the proposed alterations and additions do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in the National Historic Register District, and therefore referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
I will second again.
Thank you, Steph. Okay, Mr. Lear,
Yes.
you know, I've just realized I forgot to do something, but maybe it's in material. We had two pieces of correspondence speaking in favor of the application, so. Okay, all right, let's proceed. Steve Burlingame,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Steph,
Yes.
Don,
yes,
and Janet,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Hoyt. And hopefully, I really appreciate the fact that you took our comments to heart. And I think as Janet indicated, I think we got a much better result. So again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much, Mr. Riley.
Well, and the real approbation goes to the Logans who encouraged Roger to make the changes. So,
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Enjoy your new home. Thank you.
Thank you to the whole commission. We appreciate your oversight here.
Thank you. Okay. The next application we have is application 21021, 75 Hallway Street. And again, we're hearing it under chapter 158 demolition delay, and also as a contributing structure in the National Register District. this is as indicated, this is an application on a property that is a contributing structure in the National Register District. And I do have one concern before we proceed, is this application has been before us, not this application, but this property has been before the commission at least 2 times that I can think of as a contributing structure in the National Register District. And this morning, Mr. Riley, you're the attorney. Thank you very much. I just want to comment or ask the question, have we calculated the percentage change of this change and cumulative to the other changes that have been made onto the property over the years? Because the issue of 25% is cumulative.
I have not done that calculation.
Michelle?
I did not ask.
I'm sorry.
I did not ask the architect to do it either.
Okay, Michelle, do you know? Have any
And
sense?
I don't have the exact figures, but I did go back to the building file. And in 2014, they raised the structure with a new foundation and added 2 additions. I couldn't find the square footage of the additions, but the foundation was 1,079 square feet. And then in 2007, it looks like there was another foundation work done for 727 square feet. And then in 2008, it looks like a new deck for 100 square feet. So clearly over 25% if we consider the square footage shown on the assessor's records of 1132. So I believe over the 25% by quite a bit.
All right, so just for the public's information and members of the commission who may not be aware, the requirements of the Cape Cod Commission relative to potential referral to the Cape Cod Commission as a single-family resident is technically allowed up to 25% cumulative change to the structure without any potential referral of the property to the Cape Cod Commission. And again, it's a cumulative issue. We can proceed, under Chapter 158, and then we can discuss it under the issue of the Cape Cod Commission. There are basically two hearings undergoing here. One, whether or not, under the requirements of 158, and then under the Cape Cod Commission. So I think the first order of business would be, before we proceed, Bill, is to reaffirm the historical significance of this contributing structure in the National Register District. Mr. Lear, do you concur? Bob?
Sorry, muting problem. I think we do need to decide that, but I think it's also true that the original structure has kind of gone lost in this whole process.
Yeah, this is a tough one. There's no way you can decertify it.
There is no process for that, I believe. Don, is that correct?
I believe so. And there, this building has been expanded and expanded and expanded, and it's twice the size it was, at least twice the size it was when it was first brought to us. So it should be an issue.
It should be an issue?
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be an issue for the commission, but by the same token, it's been modified beyond recognition. So what are we dealing with?
Well, I guess there's the practicality, and there's the reality. Okay. So we can't make a determination and uncertify it. It's certainly something to discuss with Sarah Korjeff at some particular point. There might be something that can be done, to eliminate it. Well, I guess the way to deal with it is we could take a stand here and indicate whether or not we feel the building, notwithstanding its National Register designation, is historically significant or not.
I believe it's historically significant because of the location, and part of it is still the original house.
Okay, well then that answered that question, at least from your point of view. So why don't we get a motion to move it on? And we can get on with the other part of the application. Bob?
So okay, we'll start with chapter 158. I move that Chatham Historical Commission finds that the building located at 75 Hallway Street, I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Is historically significant because in whole or in part 75 years old or more. It's listed on the National Register District, and it's associated with one or more personal historical persons.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
I'll second.
Okay, I think it was a tie. Steph, I'm going to give this one to Don. Okay, any other comments in the commission? If not, let's do a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame,
Yes.
Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Don,
Yes.
Sandy,
Yes,
and the chair votes yes. Okay,
yes,
yes, thank you very much. So having said that, the question, and why don't we then turn it over to Mr. Riley? Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate your patience in allowing us to proceed with that. So why don't you give
No
us a quick update of what's happening?
All right, so I would like to point out that that one of those changes was simply putting what is now elevating the structure when there was a change in the floodplain requirements to put living space below the historic portion of the building. It was elevated. So the first foundation work was, the foundation was governed by FEMA rules. The second foundation that Michelle referred to was elevating the building and putting living space at the lower level.
well, they already have.
At that point, the building's elevated above the ground, so the family wanted to have some outdoor space immediately adjacent to the structure, so they requested permission to put a deck on. I think at some point they changed the entrance as well, but in any event, the current proposal, the only change to the structure is at the lower level. There's a 6x8 addition at the lower level that's actually going to be covered by a walkway extension of the deck that's going to run along the south side of the building.
Excuse me, Christina, could you please show the drawings as he's talking? I think the one you probably want to see is A1, A2, A3. Unfortunately, we have the members of the public to deal with here and them seeing what's going on. Thank you. Sorry, Bill.
No, that's fine. I thought we submitted a plan that had Karen's notes on it that more dramatically pointed out the changes, but so
that
if you look in the
that would be A1,
left,
Bill. Bill, excuse me, that would be A1. Christina, do you have that?
well, it's A1 is up, but I think there's more than one A1. But anyway, look,
Oh,
let me just
okay.
let me just explain. So if you look in the lower left corner of this plan, you can see that there are 3 new windows. And then if you look at the floor plan, you can see that that shows you the change in the deck. So there's putting a new door opening onto the new side deck, and then a walkway along to the front deck. If you look on the upper left-hand corner, you can see Karen's highlighted the change. So there are 2 new windows.
Christina, could you please use, there's 3 drawings, A1, A2, A3. Could you please show that? Thank you. Bear with us, Bill. We've got a new,
Michelle, do you have those by any chance? I only have one proposed. And the one that I had pulled up.
It would be labeled existing if you have it. Hold on, please. Let me see if I can find it.
there you go.
There you go.
Got it.
Thank you. Sorry, William.
Thanks, Christina.
No,
You're welcome.
no problem. I appreciate everything staff does. Well, no, I do. I mean, this is in any event. So this is the sheet I was talking about before, where Karen has highlighted
Right.
the area change. So she shows what's being removed. So on the main level, you can see there are 2 windows that are being removed, and they're being replaced by a door. And then down below, there's 1 window being removed, and that's going to be replaced by 2 windows. In the lower left corner, it shows that 1 window is being removed, and I believe that on the other elevation that showed 3 windows in that location. And then on so if you went back to proposed, as you look at this, on the right-hand side of the upper image, you can see that there's a deck there, a very small deck, but a deck. And so what they wanted to do was put a side door and have a deck run alongside the house. So the deck, as you look at the front view, the deck now extends 4 feet further over to the left, and there's a walkway to get out to the deck. The reason for the expansion of the lower level was to add a guest bathroom. So that's sort of it. With
All right. I think we got it. All right. I think it's quite, the drawings are good and they just show exactly what's happening and not happening. So can we, if you're finished, Bill, we'll just ask the commission if they have any questions or concerns.
So
Thank you.
All I would say is that obviously all these changes have been approved by the commission.
Right. Understand. Okay. Let's go around the table. Mr. Lear, any comments?
No, except I don't think the changes will detract from what's there now.
Thank you. Steve?
I agree with Bob's comment.
Okay. Ben?
I agree.
Stephanie?
I agree with Bob.
Don?
I've been against the expansion from the very beginning, and I have to be consistent and say I can't support expanding anymore.
Thank you. Sandy?
Well, I remember when this first started coming before us, and I have to stand with Don Aikman on this. I'm opposed.
Thank you. Janet, you're not voting, but we certainly would love your comments. Janet, do you wish to speak or have any comment on the application?
Yeah, she's muted.
Janet, you need to
Am I
unmute
muted?
yourself.
Okay, all right, yeah, there have been so many alterations to this already that it's hard to, it bears no resemblance to its historic originality. This is a hard one, I don't know.
Okay.
I
No,
to go with the majority.
I hear your frustration. Trust me. And the chair also remembers voting against this thing a couple of times, but I guess at this particular point, there seems to be 4 members of the commission in favor of it, and I don't know. I'll vote when I vote. Okay, I'm doing what I'm asking you people don't view. Make a decision. Okay, Mr. Lear, can you give us a motion?
I will, however, I've got two A1s, and the one that is the proposed does not seem to have a date on it. The existing is from 2014, so that doesn't help. Bill, is there a date on the A1?
Well, if not, we could just put a date on it.
Yeah, that would be my. You know, it's funny that there was a date on it, but it was 2014, so I thought that qualified. But anyway,
yeah,
so I would accept if you want to put today's date on it or an earlier date this year.
I'll put presented this date. How about that?
You got it.
That's fine.
All right.
So I do see a date, excuse me, on A1 of the proposed down in the bottom. Does it not say 1/7/2019?
Yep.
Yes, but I think that's when it was copyrighted. I mean,
Okay, all right.
Well,
I was looking for a straw there. So
plan 2.5 years old.
Let's just use this date, which is September 7, 2021.
All right.
I can explain the delay. We went to the zoning board and got turned down and filed an appeal with Superior Court. Superior Court overturned the zoning board, and so it's been doodling through the system for over a year.
Wow, this has been an expensive bathroom.
2 years. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Chatham Historical Commission also find the proposed work to be done dated September 7th, 2021 will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
That was Steve Burlingame, second. Okay, roll call. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
No.
Sandy?
Opposed?
And the chair agrees with Mrs. Tennyson's comments that it's gone, but the chair votes yes, it allows it to proceed. Thank you. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2. So we're approving it under Chapter 158, and that the changes do not affect the historical significance of the particular property. We now have a more honorary one, is to deal with it from a relationship of the Cape Cod Commission. You know, this is something that, you know, Bob, at some particular point, I really would like to clarify. You know, you have made the comment more than once on the commission that if it's more than 25%, it's an automatic referral. And, you know, but we have taken the position as a commission that we have some leeway here to whether or not we would still like to refer it. And at some particular point, when you got nothing else to do, you know, we should just get that clarified within the Cape Cod Commission on how they feel about that. So, but anyway, at this particular point, we have a situation of determining whether or not we feel the application changes materially diminish the historical significance, and the referral to the Cape Cod Commission is necessary. Mr. Riley, would you like to add anything before we ask questions and stuff like that?
Well, the only thing I can say is that to the extent that there's historical significance in the building, this change on the lower level does not affect it.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have any members of the public wish to speak for or against the application? And we had no correspondence?
Yes, we do.
Ah, I missed that. Thank you. Michelle, do you have it? Is it in the packet?
Mm-hmm.
I got papers flying. Michelle, do you mind reading it?
I'm not sure I have it at hand at the moment. Give me a minute while I search for it.
Stephanie, do you have it?
It's on my computer. I can't get to it.
Okay.
I don't see it in my packet.
You sure it was this, Mr. Riley, was there something for this particular?
I have
Right.
not received it. I haven't received anything.
Stephanie, I think you got that confused with another application.
95 Wharf, 19 Wharf, Old Wharf.
Ah, yes. Okay. Thank you. Janet, was that you? Thank you very much. Okay. Having said that, and no members of the public wish to speak for or against it, I think we could go right to a vote because we've kind of talked it out. Mr. Lear, are you in the mood to make that motion?
Yes, sir. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission find that the materials presented this date showing that the proposed alterations, additions, and renovations do not constitute a substantial alteration to a contributing structure located in the National Historic Register District, and therefore referral to the Cape Cod Commission for review is not necessary.
Need a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, no other further comments. We'll do a roll call. Mr. Lear,
Yes.
Mr. Burlingame,
I would like the input of Bully Hallway, but I assume he's not available.
That's true.
But I would support.
Mr. Burlingame, is that a yes? Thank you very much.
I would support the motion.
Okay, we got to keep moving. Ben,
Yes.
Stephanie,
I think it's already lost its historic significance, so I'll say yes.
yes. Don,
No,
Sandy,
Opposed?
and the chair votes yes. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 affirmative, 2 negative. Thank you, Mr. Riley. And yes, ma'am.
Excuse me. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did I miss the first motion on that one, just confirming that it is a contributing structure?
Yes, we did. We did that.
Oh, okay.
That Bob did a combined chapter 158 and Cape Cod Commission.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good. Bill, thank you very much.
Thank you to the members of the commission.
Okay. We're making good progress, guys. Okay, we have the next application is 19 Old Wharf Road. This is an application by one of our old friends. Mr. Ahern is the architect. And hopefully all the members of the commission had an opportunity to view the building and the site. I actually was made aware of this property a while ago from a real estate person, and obviously I was in the house, and it is obviously just a gem, and hopefully we have some way to protect it. So the application again is 19 Old Wharf Road, 21022, heard in accordance with chapter 158 of the demolition delay bylaw. And again, we have our old friend, Mr. Ford. Michael, would you like to proceed?
Be happy to, Mr. Chairman. I believe the architect, Mr. Hearn, is also on. This is an application, as you've indicated, for a demolition in part of the existing house that's on the property. There are 2 structures on the property currently. There's a house And then there is a garage apartment building. As I indicated in my narrative, we are demolishing the garage apartment building. It is not 75 years old, so we didn't apply for that. We wanted you to be aware of that. With respect to the main house, Mr. Chairman, it obviously has a mattress. As near as we can tell, it was built sometime around 1803. It was inventoried by the Chatham Commission in 1991. That inventory was attached to the mattress. It gives a rich history. It was initially the Caleb Nickerson house, and then passed on to his son Simeon, and then to Simeon's son, another Simeon, perhaps Simeon II or Junior, and who lived in it until about 1848. It appears, given the mattress and the history set forth in the 91 inventory, that Simeon Nickerson and his wife were Rickies. They were lighthouse keepers down at the lighthouses in town. They held on to it for a while, and then it left the Nickerson family and was sold as part of an arrangement to take care of the Nickerson children. It then went forward and fast forward became known when it was inventoried as the Cummings house, because William and Bruce Cummings were the owners of it at the time that it was inventoried in 91. The conclusion of the Historic Commission was that it clearly was historically significant, not only in terms of architecture, but obviously in the folks, the original Nickersons who lived there, in their relationship to the town. And it is listed on your index, Mr. Chairman, as eligible for National Register of District nomination in the event that a district was created in this area. So we're clearly dealing with an historic structure. What the owner of the property, who was recently purchased it, Meg McCarthy, would like to do is to remove the L portion of this existing structure and return it to its original configuration. And we filed a photograph, Mr. Chairman, to show. We were able to get some photographs from the Nickerson family, and they gave us a photograph of what it looked like before the L was constructed.
Excuse me 1 second. All right, good. Christine, I was going to ask you to please, to show the drawings or the pictures. Thank you very much. Excuse me, Bill. Michael, sorry.
As I was saying, the proposal is to demolish the L section, to relocate the original house to the other side of the property. What you're seeing now is the back end, the L section that would be proposed to be taken off, so the house would be returned to its original configuration and moved on the property to the west and become part of a redevelopment of the property. What we did, Mr. Chairman, Patrick Ahern's office actually submitted some architectural plans for the commission's consideration of the relocated structure. And it might be good to put those up if we could. They were submitted subsequent to the application on the recommendation of Michelle that it might be useful for the commission to have those in their deliberations.
Michelle, do you have those drawings?
Yeah, that's it there now.
Christina just put it up.
We have each elevation. You'll see that on each one there are notes. The original chimney being repointed, the roof would be re-shingled in red cedar. The siding would be re-shingled in white cedar. It is anticipated that the windows would need to be replaced, but they would be replicas of the windows that are there currently. And we also propose to add shutters. There originally were shutters, according to that picture, on the property. And in the front view, we would add or propose to add some window boxes under those front windows. There will be a new foundation under it, Mr. Chairman, or that's what is proposed by the applicant. But Mr. Hearn has proposed a stone veneer on the foundation to give it the stone look. It currently is sitting on a stone foundation where it currently exists. So what you have here is kind of a complicated ask. It's a partial demolition of the L, and then a movement of the remaining portion of the structure and upgrading of it, if you will. Maybe upgrade's the wrong term, but to return it to the way it looks in that photograph, with the red cedar on the roof and the white cedar on the sides and the same windows, and then the stone veneer to emulate the stone foundation that currently exists. We provided you with these plans in the event, Mr. Chairman, the commission finds that you will approve this, and those plans could be made part of the filing and become a requirement, obviously, of the filing. With the site plan we submitted, the overall redevelopment site plan that would show the location of where the structure would be. So I know that's a lot to digest, but I think through a series of motions, the commission, if they find this is a good project, and we hope that you do, I think there is a way certainly to get there. That's the existing condition site plan that's currently on the screen. But I think, Michelle, there is there it is. There's a proposed site plan for what will occur on the site. As you come in on the left, the relocated house is directly to the left-hand side. There's a walkway to it. And that's where it would be located. So it would be the first thing you see as you come around Old Wharf and head down on the left-hand side. So I know that's a lot, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps we should take questions from the commission at this point.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the completeness of your application and your presentation. We usually grade them. I think we give you a B+ or an A-. Thank you. You know, like you're right, there's a lot of things happening here. And I think you've made it very clear that you made our job a lot easier as it relates to the, designating or reaffirming the historical significance of this property, not just the architecture, but its relation to the history of Chatham and the people of Chatham. So why don't we take this in the multiple steps? First step being our concerns relative to the historical significance of the property and the site. I don't believe you, as the applicant, you've made it very clear you agree with the historical significance. So if there are no dissenting members of the commission who wish to comment as its historical significance, we could move things along by a motion reaffirming the historical significance of 19 Old Wharf Road.
Frank, I've got a question related to that. I can't tell from the macros whether the L in back that is proposed to be demolished was included in the house at that time, although looking at it, it certainly appears that it would have been chronologically. Mr. Ford, do you have any information on when that was put on?
I don't, but considering that the Macris had attached to it the 91 Chatham Historical Commission inventory when it was labeled the Cummings House, not much question in my mind that the L was on it at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, I would concur, Bob. I had the good fortune of being able to be inside in the interior of the house when it was first considered up for sale. And there's no question, given the floorboards and everything else, that the property is more than 75 years old. The exact date, we didn't do any attempt to measure it, but I would, that's my assertion that it would be, more than 75 years and historically significant. But we can deal with that separately. And so if you could proceed with a motion, Bob?
Well, I just say that's part of my concern. We're basically demolishing, I'll make a rough guess, a third of historically significant buildings, which causes me some concern. I mean, what they're going to do with what's left is nice, but why not preserve the whole thing?
Well, let's deal with it incrementally, if you don't mind. Let's put it off. Do we agree that the 19, we usually don't, dissect a property. If it's one structure, one contiguous structure, we say it's historically significant, then we say the property is historically significant. So why don't we?
I'll go along with that. I just want to point out that it's not just picking up a house, moving it, and putting it in a prominent location. Okay, I move that the Chatham Historical Commission find that the building located at 19 Old Wharf Road is historically significant because it's in whole or part 75 years old or more, and it's also associated with one or more historical persons in the cultural history of the town of Chatham and possesses architectural value or significance in terms of period and style.
I will second.
I think that was Stephanie.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, any member of the public or members of the commission like to say anything? If not, we'll proceed.
I have a question.
Yeah, I have.
Yes, go ahead, Ben.
What? I want to make sure when I vote that it's the whole building is historically significant, which means the front part and the L are historically significant.
Right. The way the commission has in the past, and it's hard to hear you a bit, Ben. I don't know if you're away from your microphone or what, but the way the commission has dealt with this in the past is if a property is historically significant and it's attached, it's one contiguous structure, that property is historically significant. We don't start saying, well, this 2x4 is not, and this part of the building is not. Then we deal with it separately. So,
okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That's what I'm for.
Okay, so that's a yes for Ben.
Yes.
Steve, did you comment? I may have lost communication there.
I have a quick comment on the on one photograph that I've seen. It indicates the colored areas to be demolished.
Okay, excuse me. Let's focus on the issue of historically significant of the property. We'll come back to the issue of what is going to be demolished if we allow it to be demolished. Okay, so as it relates to the historical significance, sorry to cut you off.
No problem.
Steve.
No problem.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
All right, good. Don?
Yes, definitely.
Sandy? Ms. Porter?
Yes.
Okay. Janet, you're not voting, but do you have any comments?
Definitely historically significant.
Thank you very much, Janet. And the chair votes yes. Okay, so we're unanimous.
You skipped me because you.
Oh, sorry about Bob. Bob?
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Bob?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. Need an electronic tabulator here. All right, so the chair unanimously agrees the property, the contiguous building is historically significant, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we have before us an application as indicated, in your comments, and I'm not trying to cut anybody off, that the application is as forward. And there is some concern from some people relative to the loss of that part of the house, which is not dated per se, but certainly is, probably in my opinion, more than 75 years old. Okay.
So
at this,
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman, be heard briefly on that?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I was going to recognize you, Michael. Go ahead.
So, as I understand the bylaw, you've now made a finding that the entire building is historically significant. And so under the language of the bylaw, it empowers, that's the language, it empowers the commission, once you've made that finding, to impose a delay. Our proposal is we would ask that you not impose a delay as to so much of the building as we intend to demolish, that being the L. Allow us to put it in the configuration that it was when it was initially constructed without the L, and to relocate it. So I don't think necessarily that the commission's preliminary finding, which is an accurate one, that the structure, including the L, is historically significant, now precludes the commission from proceeding in the fashion that was requested, which is to allow us to remove the L, but to save the original historic home and to relocate it on the property. So that would be my comments, Jim.
Thank you. I agree with you in your interpretation. You know, we do have a lot of latitude relative to our determination of whether or not to impose a demolition delay. Understand that, at least from the commission's perspective, our history is not only maintaining an historic property as close to its original form as possible, also allowing a reasonable expansion and use in property, and quite honestly, a term that I use a lot is adaptive reuse. You know, a house that was built in 1700 is not exactly going to be a nice place to live in 2021. So there is the adaptive reuse issue of the property. But there is the issue of loss of historic material, which I think we're going to deal with. And I think that's the concern of some of the commissions. But you're right, the commission can in fact move not to have a demolition delay based upon some of those factors. So having said that, I'm going to be quiet for a second. And let's walk through the members and see what kind of questions and concern we have, whether or not we have a consensus that although we are losing potentially some historic material, which we can deal with independently, whether there's a feeling that we should allow this application to move forward and not impose a demolition delay. Bob?
Well, I think, as I may have hinted before, I don't see any reason why that L needs to be demolished and not just move it over with the original house in the manner that's been proposed by Mr. Ahern.
Okay, that is one concept. Steve?
I have a couple of items. As
Sure.
I mentioned before on the photograph that indicates the code areas to be demolished, besides the L, it also shows a dormer on the rear of the house. But there's a dormer shown in the same location on the reconstruction of the house. Is that going to be the same dormer, or we're going to remove the one that's existent and replace it with another one?
If Mr. Hearn is on, perhaps
It's the same dormer that's being maintained.
So you're going to maintain the same dormer? Thank you.
Yeah, we're just taking the window and sliding. We're just taking the.
If I could respond to that question, then obviously the yellow area, Mr. Chairman, that we marked showing the dormer to be removed is incorrect.
Okay.
Given Hearn's testimony, that dormer is staying. And so if you would correct that for your record, I'd appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Okay. And speaking was Patrick Ahern, the architect. Thank you.
Secondly,
yes, Steve.
As far as L's are concerned, it was very common for houses to be too small after a while. And they were looking to get some of the activities that were so busy in the kitchen, like the laundry or baking or something of that nature. So they would build L's for limited purposes to get some of those activities out of the kitchen. Historically, they were not built with any particular talent or architecture. I don't know where that's from, but they just kind of almost slapped up a little bit, and there's usually virtually no historically significant items in there. There's probably no gun stock beams or things of that nature. It was it's pretty modest construction, and I would it wouldn't bother me a great deal if the L was removed. I give so much credit to the new owners and their architect and their attorney for having made yeoman efforts to try to maintain this house. Its primary historical significance. I'm not going to let the indistinguished L get in the way of that, as far as I'm concerned personally.
I got to remember that term, an indistinguished L. Okay, thank you very much. Very good. Ben?
I have, the first question I have is, what is the L as far as the total structure? Is it more than 25%? The demolition of the L, is that more than 25% of the structure?
Ben, I guess somebody can make a quick calculation, but if you're referring to the 25% as it relates to the National Register District 25%, that's not an issue.
Well,
Doesn't
I
apply.
just want to know if it's,
Okay, can you
this
come
is
closer
not
to the
in
microphone, Ben?
it's not in the district, but it's certainly a historic home that's
Oh, I agree.
probably more historic than stuff that's in the district. So I
Yep.
just like to know, A, that's the first question. The second question is, what kind of foundation does it have, and can it be moved? In other words, is it a rubble foundation? Like you, I've been in that house many times. It's right across the street from me.
Oh,
But it always had a musty smell to it, almost like parts of it were built on the ground. So is it, what does it have a foundation, a rubble foundation? And is there going to be any problem moving it?
okay. Mr. Ford, there were a couple of questions there. Could you potentially respond if you could?
Yeah, I do not have the answer to whether or not the 626 square feet of the L, that's a number that we got from Mr. Ahern's office, supposed to be demolished, is 25% or greater of the entire structure, Mr. Chairman. Although I would agree, I would agree that it's not material.
Right.
Given the fact we're not in a historic district here.
Right.
Secondly, with respect to the foundation under the L, I guess I would ask Mr. Ahern, who's actually made observations of it, to respond to that one.
Well, no, my question is the structure that you're going to move, not the L. It's the house itself.
Yeah, I think there was testimony already,
Yes.
Ben, but I can confirm it that the current foundation is in fact a stone rubble foundation, and in fact the applicant proposes to put a similar stone rubble foundation under the new building. Mr. Ahern, can you expand on that if necessary?
Yes, what we're proposing to do is to put it on a proper code compliant new foundation, but we would veneer that concrete with the rubble stone. So at the end of the day, it looks exactly like the old rubble stone foundation, but without the moisture problems and structural problems as well.
Got it.
So we just did our calculations, and the wing represents 22% of the overall square footage.
Thank you very much. Okay, Ben, any other questions?
No.
Stephanie?
Yes, you're saying that the old house is going to be moved to the side. Is there going to be a connection between the old house to the new house?
No, the new house is independent of the old house. That the old house will be expressed on the property as a freestanding house in compliance with our view of the historical nature of the house.
So the new house, the old house really won't be used.
It will be freestanding, it'll be used as a guest house.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You look at the plan in front of you, you can see the house is independent of the
Yes.
new house. It's on the left side. And it fits within the dimensional requirements under the zoning code as well.
Yeah, there looked like there was connection on that picture.
That's a
There's a
walkway.
colored version where
That's-
it's more colorful with the green. I think it's more clear.
Yeah. Okay, Steph, you all right?
Yes.
Don?
I have a question for Mr. Ford. Do you know why they can't move the house with the L?
We don't want to.
I guess I'd let Mr. Ahern respond to that. I'm not sure that it's a question. It just simply, the desire was, after talking with the Nickerson family, that we save the original house and not the L itself. That was the goal, that was the intent. But maybe there's more to it than that. Patrick?
Yes, the other thing is, as you notice on this diagram, the requirements for setbacks. Again, this being a corner lot, we have a front yard setback requirement on both streets, as well as the setback at the side yard setback. And when we look at the goals and objectives for the new house and its associated development within this very constricted triangular shaped build envelope, we really are not being able to incorporate the L in any way and meet the dimensional requirements under the current zoning code. So that was another reason, notwithstanding the fact that the previous photograph that Attorney Ford had colorized shows that the L, as it was described before, climbs up off the back of the house. As you can see, the gutter line of the L climbs up onto the roof. The gutters don't align. And in fact, the window that was centered on the dormer that we're proposing to keep would slide back once the L is removed, so that the dormer would have a proper window centered on the dormer itself with a pair of shutters that were historically correct at one period of time. So this L really climbed up across the back of the house and ate a piece of the corner of the dormer and did not even align itself with the gutter line of the historic house. So from an architectural point of view, the L is really not a positive contributing architectural factor to the resolution of the rear of the house. And in fact, it looks as though it ate a corner of the dormer.
Thank you. That's very helpful. I was in this house a long time ago when the Historical Commission heard it for a previous hearing, but do I recall correctly that there is a very significant stove, a brick stove in this L, a brick fireplace and stove, what have you? Or am I thinking of another property?
No, I think you're right, Don.
I guess
I looked in there, Don. Yes, there is a large, interesting structure in there that I assume attaches to that chimney that's in the middle sort of the roof.
I having been in this house, I mean, it reminded me of the Caleb Nickerson house that's now sitting on the Nickerson property that that was moved from another location in Chatham by barge. It's just beautiful inside. If we were to approve the demolition of this L, I would very much hope that a preservation lumber company could go in and salvage some of the brick, I mean, all of the brick if necessary, and the floorboards and a lot of the other material that's inside this house, because it's old and it's beautiful. But that's my comments.
Thank you, Don. Sandy?
I'm not married to the L. It's not a deal breaker for me.
Okay, good. Well said. Janet, and non-voting, but do you have any comments?
I do have a comment. I agree with Mr. Burlingame's assessment, and it may look nice and old in there, but I think the L isn't necessarily that relevant in that it's not in an designated historic district in Chatham. So I would say it's not important.
Thank you very much. The chair, well, I agree with a lot of the comments. I was in the property also, and you're right, the L does maintain and have a lot of historical character. But I think, in my view, the application, the way it's being put forward, and and I feel a significant adaptive reuse of the property of the house. I mean, here we have a really old home, a lot of history, and it's going to be saved. Okay, it ain't cheap, guys, and it's going to be lifted. It's going to be reused, and it's going to be in the setting of where it was back in 18 something. So I think this could be a win for historical preservation in Chatham, and I think the L, I can't think of Mr. Burlingame's comment about what the L was, but there's no question it was an afterthought. It was an addition, and they didn't spend too much. I wish the same architect who built the original house would have thought about and he put the L in, but he didn't. He just kind of stuck it on. Having said that, I would not. I think there's a loss here of some historic materials, yes, but we generally lose some historic materials every time we get a win-win, and we're able to save an historic structure. So I'm enthusiastically support the application. I would say your comments, Don, and some of the people, and Mr. Ahern and the McCarthys, the families, and I don't know if they're on the call or not. But if we could be helpful, if it is approved, if we could be helpful in some way in providing contacts to historic preservationists and salvage people to salvage the material on the L, because not just go to a dump the way it is. There's a lot of materials, and also I would ask Mr. Ahern, to the sense that some of the historic material in the L could potentially be utilized and integrated into your new property. But anyway, that's a wish list. Having said that, I think we have a good sense of the commission. I do have a letter I would like to read.
Frank, I also have my hand up, Steph.
Oh, sorry, Steph. I didn't see that. Go ahead, Steph. What's up?
I just am concerned that if the L is taken off and they move that old house to the side, you're not going to really notice it. It's going to be like an afterthought. Well,
I kind of disagree with you in some way, Steph. If I looked at the drawings, the floor plan, not the floor plan, the plot plan. Oh, there it is. Okay, I'm looking at it. It stands alone, and one of the key things we do in historic preservation is we hate when somebody. I can give you good examples in town where the commission has approved a major alteration to a property in which the historic house was just completely enveloped into the new property. In this case, I think it does meet the criteria and guidelines of historic preservation. The historic property, is independent and stands alone as an historic property. There's no question about it. And it is independent from the new structure. In some ways, that's part of historic preservation, that we don't.
Will the siding and the roof be the same material as the new house?
Yes. I sound like the applicant. Mr. Ford, yes. Can you answer that?
Yes, the answer is yes.
Okay. So could it be made so it's different, so it stands out more?
Well, you don't want, Steph, I'm sorry, you don't want to make the historic, you're trying to bring the historic house back to as close as it was. But I'll let the applicant answer that question.
Yeah,
right.
You're correct.
If I may,
go ahead.
The historic
Hold on.
house.
I'm sorry, who's speaking? It's just hard to hear. I
Oh,
apologize.
this is Patrick Ahern, the architect.
Yes, thank you, Patrick, yes.
Okay. So the historic house is a white cedar shingled house, weathered to gray, and the roof is red cedared, weathered to gray. And those are the materials that are on the existing house now, which would be maintained. What's also unique about moving the house is that it now has a more dominant and pronounced locale on the site because it's basically visible from the two major streets. And the new house is being proposed down and away from the house. So the house will be quite visible on the corner lot, which is exactly what you were describing, Frank, as something that a goal and objective would be from the Historical Commission's point of view, as opposed to being lost or gobbled up within some new construction to satisfy a requirement of your board.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Who's speaking, please?
Ben, where is this gonna face Old Harbor or is it gonna face Old Wharf? The historic house.
I think it's on the corner, Ben.
I know it's on the corner, but is the front of the house gonna face Old Harbor or is it gonna face Old
Gotta face
Wharf?
the water.
One person, please just don't speak out. Let you be recognized.
It's gonna face
Mr.
what?
Ahern, can you answer the question?
Yes, the front of the house will be facing the courtyard, which is towards the water.
All right, and so when I'm looking at this drawing, where the walkway is coming up from the street, what street is that? Is that Old Harbor?
That's Old Harbor. No, it's not.
Okay.
That's
Oh, Old Wharf.
Old Wharf.
Old
And so
Wharf Road.
The address is Old Wharf, and the house will continue to have an Old Wharf address.
Okay, now, second question I have, I know there was a big controversy at one time with that lot, which the back portion, which is more toward the water, is conservation land. And
Yes, it is.
and Cummings cut down some trees, even though they were invasive, and they made them replant them. Is that so? That's going to be the zoning people are going to allow this whole business to stay to the Old Wharf side, so that's going to be a non-issue. Is that
Correct?
Okay. All right. Thanks. That's all I want to know.
Okay. Any member of the public wish to speak for or against the application?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, ma'am. Who's
Hi.
speaking?
Yes, this is Meg McCarthy, the owner of the property. First of all, I want to thank the commission for, reviewing the proposed project. And I worked for a number of months with Mr. Ahern to get this just right, and spent a good bit of time with Steve Nickerson, who I think you have a letter from, understanding the historical significance of the property. And, we're just excited about it. I think the Nickerson family's excited about it because it will have a more prominent position on the lot. I also want to let the commission know that the builder that we selected is Ted Spencer. We will work with Ted to look at what should be and can be preserved as we move the house to another part of the property. So, those of you who know me, I live in a home that was built in the late 1700s today. We're very mindful of the historic properties in town, and we want to do the right thing for this property and for this house.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCarthy. Okay. We have a letter which I'm going to read. It's from Stephen Nickerson, 785 Old Harbor Road. To myself and the commission members, I have seen the preliminary proposed plans for 19 Old Wharf Road. I am a lifetime Old Harbor resident who is related to the original owners and a direct descendant of the owners during the early 1900 period, and fully support this project. I've always considered this building and its history an icon of the neighborhood. I feel extremely fortunate to have someone who is willing to save this antique and make it part of such a stunning project, which will allow this building to hopefully exist for another 200 years. My hope is that you and the commission members will feel the same way and fully support this project. Sincerely, Stephen Nickerson. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we're ready for a formal vote. Mr. Lear?
Frank, if I could interrupt 1 second, this is Michelle. Just noticing that there is not a date on these plans either. Came late on Friday, so I understand there might have been just a mishap with the date.
Okay, if in fact it's approved, I will date the plans when we approve the drawings. I don't think you have a problem with that, Michael, right? Do you?
We don't, or they were submitted to you on September 2nd. If you wanted to use that date, we'd be happy to use that date as well.
Okay. All right, Bob?
Well, I was just going to comment, the original plans aren't dated either, so I have this date fetish, I'll admit it. Chatham Historical Commission also finds the proposed work to be done presented this date will not materially diminish the historic significance of the building, and therefore the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second,
Who is that?
Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Okay, if there are no further comments from the members or the commission, or the public, we'll take a vote. Finish up. Mr. Lear?
I will vote yes, because I am impressed by Mr. Ahern's mention of the increased prominence of this building as a reasonable trade-off for taking away the L.
Thank you, well said. Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Mr. McCarthy, thank you very much, and appreciate your efforts trying to save a significant part of Chatham's history and its heritage. Really appreciate your efforts. Thank you. Thank you, Michael and Mr. Ahern.
I have a comment. Montgomery Clift was a frequent visitor to this property in days gone by. So those of you who remember that actor, that should be a plus.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Ben, but a large part of our audience will say, who?
I know. They can always look it up on the internet, I guess.
Yeah, right, exactly. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. And I really appreciate the very thoughtful comments from the members of the commission here. Okay, guys, moving right along. All right, we're an hour and a half. We've got to make progress here. Last but not least, 21023, 356 Stony Hill Road. Application to be heard under Chapter 158 of the Demolition Delay Bylaw. It's Edward Acton and Edward and Cheryl Acton. Busy man, Mr. Acton. Okay, we have a property here. I would just note before we even proceed, there is no Form B for this property, and our preservation consultant in his survey, what was his indication, Michelle, to the Form B?
No.
No. I've asked Michelle, by the way, and, not that we're going to do it tomorrow, is that, we very much have been pushing the whole issue of administrative review. And we do that in terms of age and minimal maintenance issues. At some particular point, it's on our agenda to discuss the issue of historical significance of whether or not administrative review would be appropriate at some future date. But at that time, as part of that, I'd like to make sure, that very large on the application that we put in, whether or not a Form B is there and what the position of the consultant was as part of the survey. Having said that, this is for a full demolition of a home which is 75 years old. I guess the applicant, Mr. Acton, are you going to be making a presentation?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, loud and clear.
Okay, great. Good morning, members of the board. This is Ed Acton. My wife, Cheryl, and I own 356 Stony Hill Road. We've owned it for, I guess, just a few months now. The house is a built in 1946. I guess the main part of the house was built in 1946, which just makes it 75 years old. The house has had some additions added to it over the years, and the second floor was added in, let me see if I might find my notes here. Excuse me.
You said
the original house was in 1946, 1954, a bedroom addition and a second floor were added to the home, and that part of the house is now 67 years old. And then in 1967, a two-car garage and a breezeway were added to the house, which is now 54 years old. The windows have been replaced in 1989, 99, 2001, and those are just vinyl replacement windows with no grates. So, you know, a large portion of the house doesn't meet the 75-year threshold, but the original sort of structure does. The house has been vacant for several years. It had a roof leak that went unnoticed, and there was substantial damage to the ceilings and insulation and walls. The house is in just a lot of disrepair, and we would like, with the board's permission, to tear it down and build a new house.
Thank you very much. You know, Ed, this commission has been toying with the concept of a property maintenance bylaw, a little bit outside our jurisdiction. But when we see a lot of houses which are really good houses, whether they be historic or not, which meet, as you're putting, you know, poor maintenance, we call it demolition by benign neglect. So is there anything that the house could be saved to move, just between you and I, or structurally, is it sound? I mean, I know you're saying it's got rats and stuff like that, or
well,
but can the
yeah,
house
no,
be
it
moved?
has mice and had raccoons, and you know,
well,
because the house is only, you know, just 75 years old, there aren't any like wide floor. You know,
no,
the house was all.
I agree. I'm interrupting you. Sorry. I'm not putting from a historical point of view, from a just the loss of a house, a property. You know.
Yeah. I wish, you know, the windows are vinyl clad windows. They're not that old, but honestly, the seals have broken in most of them. I think.
Well, it was anecdotal. I mean, we have no jurisdiction. I was just,
yeah, no.
We like to keep things out of the dump if we could.
Yeah, no, you know, typically I would think, you know, I would have asked someone like Habitat from Humanity to come take a look at it before it's torn down, to see if there's anything they would want to salvage. But I'm not sure, quite honestly, if there is anything that would meet their standards.
Okay. All right. Sorry, didn't mean to digress, but just an observation. Okay, so really the initial effort and to dispense with this, quite honestly, is whether or not we feel the house is historically significant. Mr. Lear, do you have any feelings on it? Well, we just want to jump to a motion.
My feeling is that it is not historical significant. The only factor that might apply, I'm not barely 75 years old, is that Ben Goodspeed was a very prominent person in town, but I don't know that that counts.
Oh, that was Ben's house?
Yes.
Oh, goodness gracious. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Ben was the owner of I believe, the local Gulf station in town over by Cumberland Farms.
Yeah,
And
well,
it was interesting, and just a little side note in going through the house, we were wondering why there was oil on all the light switches and all the appliances and everywhere in the house, but it explained to us that Ben used to own the local gas station, so he left something behind.
Well, it was not only that, but Ben served as the chairman of the cemetery commission for many years, I think, among other things. And
His brother.
Say again?
That was his brother.
Oh, his brother. Okay. All right. Okay, got it. So what's the brother's name? I'm sorry, getting a.
You had to ask.
All right.
George.
Sorry about that. George Goodspeed.
Yeah.
All right, good. Okay, Ben. All right, great. Sorry about that.
Yep.
Okay, so having said that, Mr. Lear, would you like to make a motion?
I would. I move that the Chatham Historical Commission finds that building structure located at 356 Stony Hill Road is not historically significant because it does not meet any of the definitional criteria in section 158-2 A, B, or C of the bylaw. Therefore, the commission does not impose a demolition delay.
I would second that.
Thank you, Don. Okay, if there's no other comments from the commission and any member of the public wishing to speak for or against the application, we'll take a vote and final comments. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Lear?
Yes.
Steve?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Janet? Excuse me, Sandy?
Yes.
Janet, do you have any comments, although you're not voting?
No, I agree with all of
Thank
you.
you. All right, and the chair votes yes. So the motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Ed, and good luck. But yeah, if you could pursue with Habitat for Humanity, you may find that there's some part of the house which is worth recycling or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely will do that.
And especially with the cost of a 2x4 these days.
Yeah, although it's come back to somewhat normal, thankfully.
Okay, all right. That moving on the agenda quickly. Under new business, just to formalize it, the chairman has had numerous discussions with the town manager and members of the select board and our Katie Donovan, the director of community development, as well as Michelle. The decision at this particular point is that the commission will continue to meet on Tuesdays, but we will move our meeting time from 9:30 to 10:30, and we will be in the large conference room. So the commission will be, in fact, in person. We will separate it significantly because of the size of that room and the number of chairs that we have. And the meeting will be hybrid. So we will be in live, but the members of the public possibly will be able to call in on a virtual. And I think we still have a discussion of whether or not the applicants will come in person or or go virtual. According to Michelle, she believes we can't require the applicants to come in. If they want to do it virtually, that they will. So we're going to have a hybrid. Our next meeting is the 21st. We don't have any hearings on the 21st, correct, Michelle?
No applications, just one public hearing for the change to your rules and regulations as proposed.
Right, so there's that one hearing. And again, no applications. So hopefully everybody could be there, and I would suggest coming at least 15, 20 minutes earlier. In some ways, it'll be a dry run for us. We'll be able to look each other, watch people like Janet shake her head agreeing, and then in person, and then, so it should be an easier meeting for the chair to manage, and I will be absent on that day. And the vice chair, Mr. Lear, will chair the meeting. So anyway, that's where we are on that issue. If there any other comments?
Just be good
Yes.
to me, people.
All right. You got an easy one. Come on. The second, project oversight by individual members of the commission. I haven't had any time to think about that, but I'd like you guys to think about it yourselves. How could we construct something where members of each of the commission, like for instance, we just finished a significant project, 19 Old Wharf Road. It would be nice if we kind of watched what was happening and get a sense of it from 2 points of view.
Ben can look out his window.
Yeah, well, Ben will have to recuse himself anyway. But you can watch to see how the buildings are being treated, and that's part of the problem. We approve something like this, all of a sudden we find out the next day the building just fell down. Okay, and Ben brought up a very good point. Can it be relocated? With time and money, you can relocate anything, but still, we have to make, and I will make the building department, make it clear to them that we're concerned about the movement of this building. Now, we don't enforce those regulations, but he can. If he sees something that's happening that he doesn't think safe, which could destroy the property, he could comment on that. So think about it. Let's talk about it a little bit more at the next meeting. Third item of the new business was discussion on determining structural integrity. And I think that we had comments from Mr. Burlingame and Ben Solozinski on, getting a third party to come in to validate. I had a long conversation with Jay Briggs, our building commissioner, and he made it very clear that, he's the one who really determines, and if, relative to a building safety and whether or not it should or should not be demolished. And, he's the one who has the authority to bring in and third-party engineers to validate whether the historical integrity of a particular property. So what we should do in the future, okay, when an application comes before us and we have concerns about that, which we did, I forget the Stage Harbor Bridge Street address that we had those concerns, we should pull in Mr. Briggs, into our discussion relative to the issue of historical integrity, because, applicants can say whatever they want about how a building is going to fall down in 10 minutes. So we do have the resources available to us through the Building Commissioner's Department on historical structural integrity. Okay?
Frank,
all right.
Frank.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Frank,
ma'am.
this is Sandy.
Yes, Sandy.
What I'm saying is relevant to what you were talking about. 935 Old Queen Anne Road. It's the house on the corner of Sam Ryder and Queen Anne Road, not Old Queen Anne Road. It's a big, beautiful old farmhouse. They came before us. We gave them permission. They were going to put in a pool. Someone has taken the chimney out of that house, and there's a big gaping open hole in the roof, which my concern is that with rain and everything else, they'll come before us and say, oh, the house needs to be demolished, when we worked hard for them to save it. What can we do about that?
Michelle, could you please alert Jay Briggs in the building department?
Yes, I will. I'll take a look at the file and ask Jay if he can go out and have a look.
Okay. Well,
Thank you so much.
Yeah, Sandy, that's, I'm not trying to, there'll be an increase in your salary if you take on this assignment, but, it's a way that we should be doing that. And
I'll watch that house.
Yeah, well, okay, then that you're making the point.
I'll keep an eye on it. They haven't done anything, but I was very concerned as I walked by to see this big hole in the roof.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, Michelle.
Old business, adherence to historical commission determination. I'm waiting for I'm not waiting. Katie Donovan and the Jay Briggs are waiting for the town council's review and opinion. Michelle, can you ding our Mrs.
Yep.
Donovan, about that?
Yes,
Okay.
I'll check. No worries, thank you.
Stephanie, can we have a more in-depth discussion on the property maintenance issue at our next hearing? Because we don't have any hearings, and then we'll have more time.
Yeah,
we're-
but I
we're-
really don't think that there's anywhere, no one has anything. So I think we're gonna have to work on a bylaw. And I know
Okay,
we have one bylaw now, so we want to wait for that.
Well, there's an intrinsic decision to be made. And let's talk about it more in detail. And that is Orleans has one, but it's related only to historic properties.
It's
Now-
very weak, very weak.
Yes, I know that. But so that's one of the questions. Do we want to consider something first? My old adage is getting your nose under the tent. Put something forward that we could get town meeting approval for historic houses or houses over 75. But so let's have that discussion at our next meeting. All right, Steph?
Yes.
Okay. As bylaw changes, unfortunately, Ally is not here. She's the proud mother of a what, Michelle? A baby
boy.
Baby boy. God bless her. So Ally will be out probably to November or December. In the meantime, we finalized some comments, and before Ally left, she was going to generate an email summarizing those discussions that I had with Katie Donovan and Mr. Lear. Michelle, I don't want to nudge Ally, she's got enough to do, but can you find out if that summary ever was completed, and if it was, if you could forward it on to me and Bob?
Sure, I will see. Katie has access to Ally's documents. We'll look at it later.
Right, and then we can put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Okay.
Okay. Yes.
The Stage Harbor Coast Guard Boathouse continues. My conversations with Mr. Duncanson is they're moving ahead on the design of the upweller, and of course, they're stated that the Coast Guard Boathouse will be part of that. I received an update from Betsy Freeberg, the director of National Register designations, National Register District nominations for the Mass Historical Commission. She assures me that she's back on the job and they're working on it, and hope to hear something soon, which would be the fact that would call a state review board, which would review the nomination and make a determination of whether or not to send it to the U.S. Department of Interior for its final agreement and designation of the South Chatham Village as a National Registered District. It was the last thing I wanted to do before I left the commission, so hopefully it's going to happen soon. All right, status of demolition delays, unless there's any other comments on what I've been yapping about. Okay, Michelle, anything new to add on our listing? Everybody has that?
Yeah, everyone has it. I'd have to read through it quickly. I don't think there was anything much. I usually go through and make sure there are no building permits. Shattuck Place, not been issued yet. Shell Drive, we all know that one. Application for Salt Pond, no permits issued as of 8/24. Seaview Street, in progress. Highland Ave, that's a funky one because there's not a reconstruction of the structure that was removed, but and then the two current delays, which are Barn Hill Road, number 351, and 322 Bridge Street.
Thank you very much. Okay. Hey, you know that, I don't know if it's on the list there, that property across the street from the Atwood, which we approved a while ago, Bridge Street, and that's Bridge Street, State Harbor Road. Can you inquire where that is? I mean,
356?
Whatever that address is of that property immediately across the street from the Atwood.
It's demolished.
I know it's demolished, but what about the application? Is it nothing?
I
Nothing,
don't
huh?
know. I'll have to look
Okay.
and see if there's an application.
Yeah, just was interested. Okay.
May I ask one question?
Yes, ma'am.
Jeff, who approved of the 233 Seaview Street? Who gave the building permit?
What building permit?
It says a building permit application to demolish the north wing and rebuild was submitted and was issued.
Yeah, well, that was in accordance with the demolition delay, which expired, Stephanie.
Right. I'm just curious as who this went before. Did it go before our building?
No, it go, once our demolition delay expires, the applicant would submit just a regular request to the building department. And if there's no impediment, then they would just issue a demolition.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry, I didn't mean to give you a long-winded answer. Okay, chairman's report. Okay, where we go? Rules and regulation, public hearing at our next meeting on the 21st, which is a minor change. You all have that. It's the delegation determination of applicability. So that's for the next meeting on the 21st. 68 Shell Drive. Actually, there has been a significant not change, or a little bit of a status that I happen to be somewhat familiar with it, because I do maintain contact with Mr. Chickleone, the owner of 68 Shell Drive. And I think I could share, it's not, it's kind of public, given his negative reception, not negative, that's a bad way to say it, being the comments from the last zoning board of adjustment, Mr. Chickleone is revising his application relative to saving 68 Shell Drive property and incorporating it into the into home he wants to build. So he's making some major changes with his application, which is due to come back to the zoning board on October 28th. So there's a lot of work being done there, including potentially utilization of the historic barns. So stay tuned on that one. The fat lady hasn't sung yet. We still have a chance. Monomoy Theater property, other thing close to our hearts. I think you may have read in the Chronicle that the applicant, Mr. Greg Clark, is in the process of going before the planning board to get permission for the 3 or 4 homes he wants to build on the northern part of the property. And he had indicated in the Chronicle, and I, in my own personal conversations with him, the next step after he begins that structure would be the design and the restoration of the home on Main Street, 776, as well as the theater, for incorporation into some future theater for the town of Chatham. So that's also good news. We may be able to save, even though we couldn't save all of the homes on that lot, we are going to be able to save the theater and have some kind of a theatrical use of the theater. That's enough. I just would like to comment, the Revolutionary War Committee has been working very hard, and they have finalized or nearly finalized the design of the Revolutionary War Memorial. This thing started back in 2018, and nothing happens right away, but they do have a preliminary design of the plaque. There was a meeting of the Revolutionary War Committee with Dan Tobin, the director of Parks and Recreation, and re-verifying the location of the memorial in Chase Park at the beginning of the pathway. So hopefully that's going to happen next year, next Memorial Day. There will be a plaque and a Revolutionary War Memorial finally, and in Chase Park, which is a very positive thing. The only other thing I wanted to add is under issues on hold. Steve, I would like to try and revisit the issue of the Form Es updating, for cemeteries. I think I carbon copied you some information from a woman, can't remember her name right now, who's put a committee together to try and clean up and restore the Bethany Cemetery in South Chatham at the Harwich-Chatham border. And you and I get a chance, I'd like to talk about that, how we can potentially help them. And then maybe see if I can get Ms. Donovan to break loose some money to allow Craig Cartier to do some work on the updating the Historical Commission Townwide Historical Survey. For information, Janet and other members of the public, the Historical Commission years ago, got to be 10 years ago, completed an archaeological survey of the town. It's actually being used by a number of us, including the town of Chatham. And what we want to do is update that archaeological report to conclude the results of the archaeological survey digs, which were done by the Nickerson Family Association and the Conservation Foundation, as well as the Atwood sites. So we have 2 archaeological sites which were surveyed, and a lot of artifacts found. So we'll be trying to formalize that. And this is effectively something called a Form D, which is similar to a Form B. And then there's a Form E for cemetery. So I'm all formed out here. But anyway, it's something we as a commission, you know, as our workload decreases, I think we should talk about and maybe begin some effort. That's it from your chairman. Anybody else have anything else they want to add?
And I mean, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe I did receive that
email
comment from the people that wanted to restore the cemetery and do some repairs. So if you forward that to me again, I'd appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks, Frank.
Anybody else? I think a motion to adjourn is in order.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All right, we got about 5 seconds there. I think I heard Don. Okay, I want to thank you guys. It was a good meeting, and 2 hours, that's not bad. Okay, Mr. Lear? He doesn't want to adjourn. Mr. Lear? Robert?
You may.
Frank, I believe Don, excuse
Oh,
me.
he left. He
Yes,
left. Right.
he'll leave.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. I'm sorry about that. Mr. Lear had an appointment and a doctor's appointment. He had to go. Mr. Burlingame?
Yes.
Ben?
I guess it's just, okay, yes. I'm in favor of adjournment.
Okay. Ben?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Don?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Janet, you can vote.
Yeah, I can vote. Thank you. But my laptop lost power. I'm sorry I'm not on the screen, but I'm with you.
Thank you.
Great meeting. I look forward to being in person.
Very good, Janet. And the chair votes yes. Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.